Welcome to the System to Success show. On this show, we'll cover the best growth advice from top CEOs in North America and beyond. On each episode, your host, Jay Crutchfield, he's a former software engineer turned entrepreneur, created and maintained online marketing, online sales, and fulfillment systems for global brands. He offers non-traditional wisdom about business systems mastery, while his guests share the story of how they built their companies. Jay and his guests talk entrepreneurship, digital marketing, strategy, and business principles. But they also talk about what it means to be human with all the ups and downs, advances, and setbacks. And what he does is he takes his information and strategies that has helped catapult global brands and brings that to the small business owner to give them that advantage. Make sure to subscribe and follow for more of these business system mastery principles.
Today's episode, we're going to talk about how to set boundaries in your business. Now, this is not just going to be able to be applicable to your business, but also in your life. Now, author Dr. Henry Cloud has an awesome book called Boundaries. And so if you're listening to this, I'm actually holding up the book Boundaries by Henry Cloud. And yes, there's a tag on there that says half price books, because I bought this from the half price bookstore many years ago. All right. And so there are several boundaries that you can actually focus on in your business to really set you up for success, and your team members that are working with you, not only your team members, but also your partners and your clients as well too. So some boundaries that you actually want to establish, one of them is those time boundaries and letting folks know when you're actually going to be available. Now, how many people love this? You go somewhere and you may even look it up on Google, and there's times that this business said they're going to be actually opened. And then you go there and they're closed. They're not even open at the hours. I remember when we ran a brick and mortar store and we had hours posted, man, and we will work, goodness gracious, 15, 16, 17, 18-hour days. And that's not even including the time frame. But I had to be the one. If someone didn't come in to open up, I had to be the one. Or my wife had to be the one that come in and open up the business. And so having those time boundaries are super duper important. Why? Because it lets people know when you're going to be available. If you don't set those boundaries or set the expectations of when you're be available, team members may be contacting you at all types of hours. Clients may be wondering why you haven't gotten to them in 5 minutes afterwards. And so that's super important to set those time boundaries. The next is having those role boundaries. What is your actual role? What are you actually doing? Now, of course, when you're smaller, this is pretty blended in the activities that's being performed. So having SOPs, standard operating procedures, are super important, even if you're a solopreneur. Why? Because eventually you're going to need to, I won't say need, but highly encourage to outsource those activities, because you want to focus on those money movement activities. And so without an SOP, you can hire somebody for a role, and then when they're trained up in that non-organized way, they won't have things to reference, and they'll keep coming back to you. And there's nothing wrong with them coming back to you, but you can actually point them to a document, a video, training to actually walk them through. So having those role boundaries, so everyone knows what they're responsible for. And so that's provides so much clarity. So people won't be frustrated with each other. The videographer won't be frustrated with the video editor, or the marketing team or the marketer won't be frustrated with the salesperson. Well, hopefully that's not happening. Won't be frustrated when they know the actual roles are really delineated and it's clearly spelled out. Or the appointment setter won't be frustrated with the salesperson, or the salesperson won't be frustrated with the actual founder owner because they have to do appointment setting as a salesperson, right? And so having those things down are super important. So I want to cover a couple of those laws that he talked about in the book, right? So one is the law of sowing and reaping. When you set that expectation of what people need to do, what they can expect from you, then you planting those seeds continually, they'll come back to you and let you know, like, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what I'm doing, because you've already set the expectation. The next law we're going to cover is that law of respect, right? I can hear Birdman saying, hey, you better put some respect on my name. I feel it. I feel it. We all want to be respected, especially as men. Of course, women as well, too. But looking at this, the love languages, oh, let me not even jump into that part. But men, I'm saying this generally, really want to be respected. And so I'm thinking about this when you're having family, when I have family over, many times I set that expectation before they even come. I'm like, hey, this is what we do in our household. So if you do certain things, you're crossing the line. Now, many times I didn't do that. And when they did certain things, I would get pissed. I would get upset. But I didn't set any boundaries. I didn't say what the expectation was. And so us setting these boundaries allows people to see what they can expect from us. It allows more peace to be in there. And yes, there's going to be breakdowns at times, and having things clearly spelled out with what the roles are, what the standard operating procedures are, really assists with what the roles are going to be, who's going to actually be implementing that, so that when the ball does get dropped, we can actually see it's like, okay, who's responsible for that? And not in a blame type of way, but see where the breakdown occurred and see how we can actually implement something more effective in that area, right? Okay. And so you want to make sure that you set those boundaries. And so looking at your business, what time boundaries can you set? What role boundaries can you set in your business, so that it's going to make things much more simple for you and for your team and for your clients. All right. So make sure to subscribe and follow for more marketing and business strategies for your success.